Alright, so today we are going to be working with 2-point perspective again, but we are going to start exploring the inside of a 2-point perspective box. Now this is where I do really want to stress, in order to move to this step, you really need to have made sure that you had a good understanding of just drawing the boxes in 1-point and 2-point perspective correctly from the other two lessons. Okay? As we start to work with the inside, this gets much more complicated. And it is really important that you understand how those original lines, the ones that we just see on the outside, work before you start working with the ones on the inside. Okay? So we're going to start with a horizon line, but we don't want it smack dab in the middle this time. Alright, so I want it to be in the lower third of my page. And I want to go ahead and put my 2 vanishing points. And in order to draw, we're starting with simply a box. 2-point perspective box, just like we did on the last assignment. So I'm going to, I want it to be a little bit to the left, but I want to draw it pretty big so that I can really work with the inside. Right? So the very first thing I do is I draw this vertical line. This vertical line determines how tall my box is going to be, and I make sure that it is perpendicular to the horizon line. Alright, now the next step was to work with the orthogonals. These are the diagonal lines that we draw from the top edge and the bottom edge. To make both sides. So we're going to do this from the top edge and the bottom edge on both sides of our vertical line. And I don't need to draw them all the way to the vanishing point, as long as I'm really careful to make sure that I'm lining up my ruler or my straight edge with the vanishing point. Okay? So visually, as the artist, I should start to see the edges of my box here. I haven't determined where it ends. I haven't drawn the bottom, but I should be able to start to see the two sides. Alright, so next I want to draw my two sides. So the sides of the box, this is a side corner, this is going to be a side corner. They need to be parallel to each other. And my ruler should look like it is perpendicular to the horizon line. And again, I want to make sure that I'm getting rid of the lines that I don't need once I draw them. If I leave these lines here, it's going to be confusing. Okay, so I definitely have one completed side. Now I need to determine how long I want the other side to be. This is going to be more of a rectangular prism kind of box here. So my ruler is perpendicular to the horizon line and looks parallel because my edges of my box, all of the corner edges of my box are parallel to each other. And I'm going to get rid of the extra line. Okay. So now I'm ready for the bottom of the box. I know that if the box is above the horizon line, that I see the bottom side. Okay? And I have to make sure that the bottom side is actually lining up with some corners. Okay, so this is the far back corner of the box, and this is the far back corner of the box. I need to know where the bottom of the box is that I can't see. But I know it has to connect with these 2 points. So I line up that point with my vanishing point on the far right, so the left corner goes with the far right, and I want to point something out before I draw that line. If I know that this point has to line up with the vanishing point, if I were to line it up with this one, I already have a line there representing the side. So if I already have a line there representing part of the box, that's how come I know I have to use the other vanishing point. I have to use one of the 2. I can't just make up another one. I have to use one of the 2. There's already a line using this vanishing point. That's why I'm using the other vanishing point. Okay? The same is true right over here. I know I have to use this point right here. If I line it up with that vanishing point, I have already drawn a line. Which means I have to use the other vanishing point. And when I do, they intersect and they give me that back corner. This is the back corner of my box. Right? Now this is exactly what we did. Exactly what we did the other day. Okay? Now, this is a box above the horizon line, right? Now it looks like it's below the horizon line. All I did was flip it around. So, the process that we are using to draw each box does not change. What changes is our perception. Where are we standing? What is our viewpoint? Okay? So, just by turning this upside down did not mean I had to draw it differently. Okay? So that's kind of an important thing to understand. Right? So we started out talking about doing this as above the horizon line, so we're going to continue with it like this. Okay? Now what we have to determine next, what I want to know is I want to pretend now that instead of this being, say, a cardboard box, this is a glass box. So now I have to work with, I know where the bottom is. The bottom and these 2 sides let me see 3 sides of the box. I need to know where the other 3 sides are. Okay? So what information do I have that I can use? And what information do I not have that I have to find? That has to do with these back sides. Anybody know? So let's think of this in terms of points. I have 4 points right here. These 4 points all connected using the vanishing point, using vertical lines to form this side. These 4 points all connected to form this side. I used these 2 points to find the back side. what can I use that's already here to figure out where the back of this box is? Which one? Here, let's label them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 points right now. What point can I use to help me find the back of the box? Anybody have a guess? What do you think? Number 2? Yeah, I want to find the back of the box, but I need to use some of these points to help me figure it out. Yes, Michaela. Okay, so if I use points 1 and 3, I can figure this out? Okay, so let's give it a try. So this is point number 1, and this is point number 3. If I line point number 1 up with this vanishing point, I already have a line there. So I want to give it a try with the other vanishing point. I think that looks like that's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lightly draw that line. I can already start to see. So point number 1 must be one of the ones I need to use. So let's try point number 3. Again, if I use point number 3 and I try to use it over here on the right, I've already got a line there. So I'm going to try the other side. That looks like it's going to intersect. Okay. I can already see that's looking correct. So Michaela was right. So I want to erase these extra lines right here. I now have 4 sides, but I don't have 6 yet. So we just created another point right here where they intersected. That's that back corner of the box that we could not see before. So we're going to call this point number 7. How am I going to make the other 2 sides? I have this side right here, that's the top. This is the bottom. I have the front left. I have the front right. Where's the back left and right? Anybody got a guess? I got to connect 2 points together again. I know Michaela knows. Somebody else knows. What do I need to, what 2 points do I have to connect? Okay, I know it might be small to see. This is point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops, I already had a 7. This is point 8. 8 and 6. Thank you. Who said that? Oh, thank you very much, Celeste. Okay, so I'm connecting 8 and 6. Now, if I have been really careful, these 2 points should connect and be parallel to all the other sides. That looks pretty right. Okay, so now we have drawn a box, and it's as if it is now a glass box instead of a cardboard box. Right? So I want y'all to make sure that you have these lines. These lines are going to help us take it even a step further. Okay? And I know this is light. I'm sorry. We want to be able to erase them. Okay, now I'm going to, I think I'll leave the numbers up there. I think that might help us for talking about this. Okay, if we just look at the front 3 sides, this is the front side on the left, front side on the right, and the bottom. We're still going to be thinking about just the front of this box for right now. There is more information about the back of the box on this side. So we're going to wait to deal with this side for just a minute, okay? Where I want to start is on the front left, okay? And I want to essentially, and I'm not going to use my ruler yet, I essentially want to create an opening right here. That's what I want to do, okay? In order to do that, I have to recognize that the left and right sides of my opening are going to be parallel to the left and right sides of the original box. So I'm going to start by putting my ruler down here and making it parallel, sliding it out a little bit, and lightly drawing a line. And I'm going to start with my two parallel lines. I'm going to put my ruler down on the other side of the front and slide it over. Now, as an artist, before I draw this, which corner of the box is closest to us? Is it the corner between 2 and 4, 1 and 5, or 3 and 7? Which corner is closest to us? Guys, if you're all on your phones right now, you need to get off of your phones. Okay, so corner 2 and 4, it's the longest. It looks closest to us. These other two corners are getting further away. In perspective, the stuff that we see that's closest to us is going to look bigger. The stuff that we see further away from us is going to look smaller. So I want to consider that when I do this distance right here. This distance right here is going to look closer to me if it's closest to the corner closest to me. And it's probably going to be skinnier or look skinnier the further away from me. So there are mathematical ways of figuring that exactly out, but right now we're just going to use our visual mind. So if you were looking at something, this is where you would be carefully observing how far apart that is. All right? Right now we're just making it up, so we kind of have to know that it's going to look a little bit smaller. All right? So it's a little wider here. As it gets further away from us, it's going to look a little smaller. Okay? And then to make the top and the bottom, we have to remember that the top and bottom of this original side was an orthogonal. It lined up with the vanishing point. So the top and bottom of the opening also have to line up with the vanishing point. Okay. So now I have this opening. I'm going to clean up the sketchy lines that I initially put in there. I'm also going to clean up any of my overdraw. Alright? But this part right here, this part that looks kind of like a frame, we're saying that this here is glass, we can see through it, but this part here is solid. Okay, so this part here is solid. I can't see the inside right there on the frame part. So as I erase that, now if I'm just looking at that one part right there, Does that look like I'm looking inside of my box? We should visually kind of see that. It should look like we're looking inside the box now. Okay? So now, let's deal with this one that has a little more information. Okay? We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to look from the left and the right. And these lines have to be parallel. So I'm going to create an opening that's about the same. So I want to make sure that my line is parallel here. And I'm working on the far side. And again, this is closer to us. This is further away. So I'm going to make that a little bit skinnier. Just because I know that it would look skinnier. And now the top and the bottom of this opening inside this front side here, they have to line up with the vanishing point. Now if I wanted it to look really precise, I could try to make this, I could figure out that would be kind of directly across. So I could use that. Okay, so that gives me the top. I don't think that looks quite right. So I think I want to start it a little higher. More like that. So again, if you're drawing lightly and you don't feel like it looks quite right, you can always erase it. Okay, so that visually to me looks closer to what I was looking for. Alright, so my top of the opening lined up with the vanishing point. The bottom of my opening has to line up with the vanishing point. And do I have any overdraw? I have a little bit down here. Okay. Now, in order for this to finish looking correct, I have to consider that this part, this kind of framed area, is now representing a solid, and that this is like a clear window or just an opening. Alright, so I can get rid of the line that I would see on the inside because I know now that that's solid and I can't see it. Okay? Same thing right here. And top corner. Now this little part right here doesn't look quite right. So if I wanted to have it be a solid bottom, all I'd have to do is erase that line. Don't erase yours though. Okay? And then this would look like I have a box with only two openings on the front of the box, and then it has a solid bottom. Okay? But we are going to make an opening on the bottom also. So I'm going to put that line back. Okay? So one of the things that I'm going to want y'all to start thinking about is how can you take this idea of two-point perspective and how can we turn it into something that doesn't just look like a box? Right? So I'm going to talk about that some more here in just a minute. So I want to make an opening on the bottom of this box. There are no parallel lines that represent the sides here, okay, except this part we're seeing in the back. But the ones that actually represent the bottom part of the box, none of those lines are parallel, okay, and we're working with the bottom of the box. We're working with an opening on the bottom of the box. So I have to use the vanishing point on both sides in order to create that opening. So I'm going to have two orthogonal lines. And where they cross, represents the opening. So I'm going to erase my extra, but then I also need to erase that back line in the area that is looking solid. Okay? Okay, so here's what I want you to consider, all right? This is how we basically make openings. Now, I'm going to take it a step further, probably on Tuesday, okay? But for right now, and what I want you to think about this weekend is, how do we make this, how do we be creative with our ideas and what we can do, okay? So the assignment that you're going to get next week is going to be to fill a piece of paper using two-point perspective, using two-point perspective boxes that have openings in them with a theme. So you have to create a scene. It can't just be boxes. I want to know what's happening. So for example, when we did our drawings and we were just working with two-point perspective all by itself, we had boxes that some of them looked like they were touching, some of them looked like they were in front of each other, behind each other. What if we imagined that this was a mouse house, okay? And so you'll think back on your stories that you may have been read as kids, okay? So you've got this very creative, very ingenious little mouse family, all right? They're living out in the forest. They're collecting boxes, and they turn this into a little mouse mansion. What does the little mouse mansion look like? Does it have windows in it? Is there furniture in it? Are there little mouse? Does it have a tree house somewhere up here? Okay? What's the background look like? Are there going to be grasses and leaves and trees? So I'm still going to use my two-point perspective boxes. I'm still going to look inside of the little mouse house, okay? But I'm going to have this whole scene going on, this entire theme going on, okay? So that's one idea. I want y'all to use your creativity to come up with something. Now, here's another idea. And this one was a little bit more morbid, but okay. So when we're working with this drawing, maybe this is outer space, okay? And the evil aliens are throwing the little humans out of the space dock, okay? I don't know. It could be anything, right? Or maybe we are. This is commerce in the 24th century, and we have a loading zone floating in space in some kind of 18-wheeler type space vehicle backing up to this, and the candy is dropping down into something else. Okay? This could be absolutely anything. Okay? So what I am wanting you to do this weekend is think creatively. What can these boxes be? It can be something that has never even been created before. You can think on the micro level. Maybe it's little organisms. Maybe it's a little bigger, like I said, with a mouse. Maybe this is actually what people would be living in, or some other animal, or it's in space, or it can be anything. But I'm looking for your creativity with this. The expectation that I have is that you can draw 2-point perspective boxes and show me the inside. But everything else gets to be what you want it to be. So there will be an aspect that I'm looking for that is your creation, your originality. Okay? On Tuesday, we'll get a little bit more in depth, which means that on Monday, what I'm going to put in as an assignment is for you to have drawn more boxes like this or similar, okay? Maybe changing the size of the openings on it, okay? So that we practice getting the openings in there and getting them correct. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to take it and we're going to explore maybe putting stairs inside of it or something like that, okay? Now, this drawing right here, what's the only other thing that we did to this drawing that's different from this one? Okay, so I think what you're saying, we opened up the back side? Is that what you see?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the only difference here, we did the same thing except we stopped. We only opened up the front 3 sides. In this drawing, we opened up the front 3 sides and the back 3 sides. Right? That is totally doable. I just don't want to give you too much just yet. Okay? We need to practice being able to do this first. Alright? So with the time left that you have today, I want you to draw another one, at least start another one, making the opening on the box. Okay? Alright, go to work.